Tonight on NewsWatch Ole Miss, destructive tornadoes hit Mississippi Friday night, killing 26 people, displacing thousands of others, and destroying buildings in towns of Rolling Fork, Silver City, Winona, and Amory.
Aerial footage of Amory shows many homes and businesses reduced to rubble. Today we are bringing you complete coverage of all the affected areas. NewsWatch Ole Miss starts right now. Good evening, and thank you for joining us on NewsWatch Ole Miss. I'm Makayla Russell.
And I'm Junia Newsome. Hundreds of people are now without homes after Friday night's deadly tornadoes that tore through the state.
This tornado is one of the deadliest in the state of Mississippi in more than a decade. At least 25 people have died, with one person confirmed dead in our neighboring state of Alabama. The communities of Rolling Fork, Silver City, Winona, Amory, and Smithville woke up Saturday morning to the sight of their towns in an unrecognizable state.
Trees have been uprooted, trucks have overturned into houses, power lines now on the ground. This tornado was classified as violent, given the second highest rating possible.
36,000 people were still without power this morning in what is considered one of the poorest regions of the country. Volunteers from Arkansas, Louisiana, and Tennessee have been helping with cleanup.
A small town in the Mississippi Delta was hit the hardest by the tornado.
Mississippi Emergency Management Agency officials declared that the tornado in the city of Rolling Fork as a preliminary EF4. An EF4 tornado has top wind gusts from 166 to 200 miles per hour.
Officials confirmed the death toll to 26. Violet Gyra with the Daily Mississippian was down in Rolling Fork this weekend. NewsWatch reporter Ebony Anderson talked to Violet earlier today about what she saw.
When you arrived in Rolling Fork, what exactly did you see?
In a single word, destruction. Like, it was just beyond anything I could have ever imagined. Even just before we were quite into the town, you could just see that, like, this is not like, you could see that it was a very powerful storm, basically. There was metal in trees, like, it's difficult to really comprehend how, like, some of the things that I saw were even possible, and that's just a testament to how powerful that tornado was. I saw a lot of displaced lives, a lot of displaced people, but on top of that, I also saw a really incredible display of community. There were a lot of people there helping. They were already setting up places for people to sleep that evening. They had piles and piles of water bottles. So yeah, it's like a two-pronged, like this really sad, destructive scene, but also a show of community.
Got you. Okay. So what feelings or emotions did you feel just by looking at everything that had happened?
Yeah, so it was a lot to take in, that's for sure. It was saddening, to say the least. But from like the people who were in the area, you definitely got a sense of like resilience, that like we're going to pick up, we're going to rebuild, and we're going to come back. For most residents, there were some who were like, it's difficult to see how you can come back from something like this. So there was definitely like a duality in that sense there. But yeah, a lot of sadness.
Oh, okay, got you. So did you get the chance to speak to anyone who was there during the storm?
Yes, I spoke to a lot of people. The first place we stopped was the distribution center, where they were already setting things up and figuring out like, okay, how are we going to distribute meals? Where are people going to sleep tonight with so many people displaced? I spoke with a professor. I think he took a tour in Iraq, so he was pretty, I don't want to say accustomed, but familiar with like what you need to get done in an environment like Rolling Fork is currently in right now. So I talked to him, there were a lot of government officials there to offer aid and help. I spoke with the Attorney General, Lynn Fitch. She had a lot to say just about the tendency of Mississippians to come to each other's aid. So that was incredible. I also spoke with a lot of survivors, people who had survived the tornado. I spoke with one gentleman whose home was just like leveled, like you couldn't even distinguish one part of the house from another. It was just flat, yeah. And I spoke with him about his experience during the tornado. He described it as like he had seconds to get from his couch to his bathtub. And he said the wall just fell in over his head, and that's what protected him, but like just enough to where it wasn't like crushing him, but protecting him. And yeah, he's one of those people who doesn't plan to stay. He's not rebuilding there. But that's just one of several people that I talked to about their experience that day.
Oh, wow. And I'm just sure, you know, they're just like that day was just full of just chaos and everything going on. Did you see any just like first responders or just anybody that was there sent to help?
Yeah, there were a lot of first responders there. The Mississippi Emergency Management Agency was present. The Red Cross was there. Just alongside like community members. There are also, I didn't know this until I went there, but there are just groups of people who volunteer and sort of mobilize and come to disaster sites like this one. So that was really interesting to see and really powerful to see people just taking the time out of their day to come help their fellow Mississippians in need. I saw a lot of like vehicles from like other cities, like Coahoma County had fire trucks there and Madison had police cruisers there. So it was just, there were definitely a lot of first responders, and it was just an incredible display of, I keep saying this, but like it was just an overarching theme, just community and just helping each other out in a time of need.
So with looking just at all the destruction and just all the debris on the ground, was there any just like kind of debris that sort of impacted you, like when you looked at it?
Yeah, so I could honestly talk about a couple. The first thing that I saw that really just had me like, wow, was there was this piece of wood, but it was like, there was a swing set and it was like through the chain link on the swing set. And if you just think like, could you really throw a piece of wood and have it stick into the chain link? No, like that's just a testament to how powerful this tornado was. Like it just sliced through it. I don't know if that's a great description, but it was incredible to see that and think like, wow, that's a lot of force and a lot of wind, and people survived that. Another thing, when I was on 7th Street, the street where that gentleman I mentioned earlier lived, I just saw this like Nerf gun on the ground, and that was just so jarring because among everything else it was like wood and debris and like plates and that kind of thing, but seeing that like toy gun was like, wow, like this belongs to some child who no longer has a home anymore. So that was incredibly moving, saddening, and that's just one of several things that I witnessed that day.
I can only imagine the emotion that was felt that day.
Yes, thank you, Violet, for sharing your experience with us tonight.
These storms clearly impacted so many people. Let's check in with weather anchor Seth Parenteau as he explains just how powerful this storm was. Seth?
That's right, Junia. This was one of the most severe storms that Mississippi has seen in years, as you said. Now, tornadoes are measured on what is known as the EF scale, and this scale ranges from 0 to 5. Now, for an EF0 storm, as you can see, you can expect wind speeds of about 60 to 85 miles per hour with minor damages. This means small trees blown down, not uprooted, but blown down, and minor damage to roofs. This can be missing shingles and things of that nature, and small items tossed around. This can include lawn furniture and small signs. And an EF0 storm makes up about 53% of all storms that form with a tornado. Now, what we experienced here in Mississippi on Friday night was an EF4. As you heard earlier, this is wind speeds of 166 to 200 miles per hour with devastating damages. This can mean homes leveled or just completely swept away entirely, with cars mangled and thrown into the air. And with this wind speed, these storms have the potential to blow a moving train off of their tracks. Now, this type of storm makes up less than 0.5% of all storms formed with a tornado. So you can understand just how rare and severe this type of storm is. Now, both locally and online, I saw many people confused as to the difference between what a tornado watch, a tornado warning, and a tornado emergency are. So I'm here to clear that up. So a tornado watch is a tornado could form in this area. There's no tornado currently in the area, but the weather is at the perfect condition for it to form. So there is no need to take shelter, but it is best to have a plan, an idea of where you're going to go, and what you're going to do in the event that a tornado does form. A tornado warning means that there is a tornado in your area. Now, this could be something minor or something more major, but you do need to take shelter and follow all precautions and warnings. Now, a tornado emergency is an elevated form of tornado warning. This means you can expect massive damage in your area, something akin to an EF4 tornado. This could fully level your town and has the potential to be fatal. So hopefully this clears up for you, because we do have the potential for more severe weather towards the end of the week. So make sure to stay tuned for your full extended forecast. Back to you at the desk, girls.
The storms kept moving Friday night and touched down in the Carrollton County community of Black Hawk, just outside of Winona.
There, a schoolhouse that served as a community center was obliterated. Reporter Laurel Wynn traveled to the town to understand the impact of the devastation.
I'm here in Black Hawk, Mississippi, standing on the foundation of what used to be a schoolhouse that residents say was here for nearly 100 years. And I talked to some people who were here remembering this special community place. This schoolhouse was a place where they held weddings and birthday parties. They would come together to hear local singers and musicians. It was a place of celebration for them. And one of those people that I talked to was Rhonda Mitchell.
And we came up here for things ever since I can remember. I mean, I don't remember not ever coming up here for something, you know. And so it's going to be a loss to our community for right now, you know, until we decide what to do. But it's heartbreaking, because I guess for the fact that I know my mom and my dad passed away last year, and this would have really hurt him, you know.
Of course, the question is if the schoolhouse will be able to rebuild after such destruction. And Mitchell says she has no idea. This has been such a devastating time in their lives, and right now they're really just taking it all in, but they would love to rebuild, she says. But all of this really depends on if they can get grants and fundings, and they're going to need large donations to be able to bring this incredible community center back to life so that people can enjoy it for generations to come. For NewsWatch Ole Miss, I'm Laurel Wynn.
The Schoolhouse Community Center is operated by the local Homemakers Club. They will be just one of the groups feeling the loss of this community treasure.
The whole nation is talking about it, but for us, it hits close to home. Just a little over an hour away from us here in Oxford, the city of Amory saw great devastation this weekend after getting hit by a powerful tornado. NewsWatch reporter A.C. Barker spoke to some of the people that it affected and was there to assess some of the damage.
I've had a lot of people say they compare it to a war zone. It looks rough. I mean, it's bad. I've seen many tornadoes before.
March 24th, 2023 is a day that will unfortunately go down in history. 26 people are dead and dozens are injured after a vicious tornado swept through the state of Mississippi Friday night.
I woke up in Stark, Florida yesterday morning with the news that this happened, so as soon as I woke up, I got in my vehicle and came on back. I got here about midnight last night, so I got here this morning and this is what I found.
Everything was whipping up around us. It was super loud. Rain was spinning. The awnings and everything on Main Street was whipping around us. We had power line landed on top of the Jeep. There was some metal that landed in the front. It was a lot.
The National Weather Service said the tornado was on the ground for about an hour, cutting a path of destruction for over 170 miles. Now, some residents have been without water or power for days, and some with their homes in shambles.
Welcome. Come home.
Teresa Clay is a resident in Amory. She rode out the storm in the hallway of her home with her two dogs, Izzy and Mishka, held tightly in her arms.
So is this the hall that you were in?
I was right here. Right here. Yeah, right here with my feet against the wall there.
She says what started as the sounds of crashing turned into growling and roaring.
That really scared me, and I just screamed. I just screamed to the top of my lungs. Just kept repeating, Jesus, please protect me. Lord Jesus, please protect me. He did. I'm standing here, so he did.
It's hard to believe that this right behind me, less than 48 hours ago, was an Exxon gas station. And this is just one example of the destruction that Friday night's tornado caused in this community. Let's take a bigger look at what we're seeing here. These buildings are just unrecognizable. The town itself is just completely unrecognizable at this point. And the National Weather Service earlier today, actually about less than an hour ago, did confirm that the tornado that hit Monroe County on Friday night is a preliminary EF3. Now, that's pretty strong, as we can see from all of this damage that it caused. And even though this tornado did tear apart this town, it certainly did not tear apart the community bond as each member of the community continues to pick up the pieces and work together day by day.
Everyone's lending a helping hand to everybody. It doesn't matter who you are, if you know them or not. It's just a lot of bonding together and working together right now.
Hannah Wong is a freshman at Ole Miss. Amory is her hometown. She said Friday night was simply a waiting game.
It was just a very anxious, almost sick feeling, waiting to hear back from my family.
For Hannah, it was something that literally hit too close to home.
We had a little bit of damage, nothing too crazy, and then my grandparents' house had a lot of damage. It was a little bit closer to where it actually touched down.
The cities of Amory, Smithville, Winona, Silver City, and Rolling Fork woke up Friday morning unknowing of the disaster they would be going to bed to that night. AC Barker, NewsWatch Ole Miss.
Amory High School saw severe damage as well. The city is under a curfew in effect from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. until further notice. Citizens are also recommended to boil their water before use after a city water department took a direct hit.
Oxford residents and university students sheltered in place as tornadoes threatened the community Friday night. A tornado warning was issued around 8 in the evening and sirens could be heard for almost an hour. The annual NPHC step show in the pavilion was interrupted when the sirens went off, with security moving everyone to the gym floor to weather the storm. Despite the issued warning, Oxford only saw severe rain, thunder, and lightning, causing trees to topple, triggering flash flood warnings, and knocking out power to around 4,000 people. In solidarity with the affected areas in other parts of Mississippi, Oxford residents quickly organized numerous donation drives. The City of Oxford is currently accepting donations at Fire Station 1 on McElroy Drive, while UM organizations such as Associated Student Body and PRSSA set up donation bins around the university. Immediate needs include bottled water, canned goods, paper products, pet food, diapers, wipes, baby formula, personal hygiene items, laundry detergent, cleaning supplies, and tarps. You can also support victims financially through several different GoFundMe campaigns under the Mississippi Tornado Centralized Hub. One specific campaign, created by Sarah Wyndham, whose husband is from Rolling Forks, has already raised over $94,000. NewsWatch Ole Miss will be right back. Stay with us. We've talked a lot about the impact the horrific storms this past weekend have affected Mississippi and surrounding areas.
I know, Makayla. Let's check back in with weather anchor Seth Parenteau to see what the weather has in store for us this week.
Well, so far today has actually been a pretty mild day overall here in northern Mississippi. We are looking at a current temperature of 71 degrees with mostly cloudy skies and some light winds, so not too bad overall. And if we take a look across the rest of northern Mississippi, as you can see, current temperatures are in the mid to upper 60s and lower 70s, with Tupelo and Corinth currently at 72 degrees. Now for tonight's forecast, we are going to be taking a little bit of a dip. We are looking at a low of 49 degrees with, again, partly cloudy skies and that wind sustaining at 5 to 10 miles per hour throughout the night. Now for tomorrow's forecast, it's not going to be as warm as it was today. It's going to be a high of 66 with some morning clouds that give way to afternoon sun, and that wind will be picking up a little bit for sustained 10 to 15 miles per hour. And if we take a look across the rest of northern Mississippi for tomorrow's temperatures, you can see they won't be as warm as they will be today, but again, not too bad for the end of March. So you can see we have temperatures in the lower to mid 60s, with Tupelo actually beating us all out at 68 degrees. Now, we have had this severe weather this past weekend, and there is the potential of more severe weather heading our way towards the end of this week. We are watching for severe storms on Friday. Now, currently, we are expecting only heavy rain and thunderstorms, but the beautiful thing about weather, people, is that it is subject to change. So the storm could get more severe or less severe as we move on into the week. We just don't know yet at this moment, so make sure to stay tuned to all local weather authorities for any and all updates on this storm. Now for your 5-day forecast, as you can see, with the exception of the possible storms on Friday, it is looking to be a relatively nice week overall. We have temperatures in the highs of mid to upper 60s, with Friday actually being the warmest day of it all at 79, again with that possible chance of severe storms.
Thanks for the weather update, Seth. Jay, what's going on with sports this week?
Well, we had the baseball team. They had a tough weekend, losing all 3 games to Florida, and we had Coach Yo's talk in the press conference about their historic season. Welcome to Sports Watch. I'm Jay Tarofsky. This week, the baseball team was in action this weekend against the number 3 Florida. The Gators completed the sweep yesterday, defeating the Rebels 7-4. NewsWatch sports reporter Kieran Lenchetsky was there to catch the action.
Rebels played host to the Florida Gators in their third and final game in a 3-game series here in Oxford, Mississippi. The Gators lead 2-0 in the 3-game series after 2 dominant performances on Saturday's doubleheader. The Ole Miss Rebels look to avoid the SEC sweep. However, for the Rebels, unfortunately, today was just not their day. In the third and final game of the SEC play, the Gators started out strong at bat as Florida's Caglione homered to right, giving the Gators the lead 1-0. Shortly after that, in the top of the fourth, Florida Gators Heyman homered down the left field line, adding to the Gators' lead 2-0. And right after that, Ole Miss's Reagan Burfoot gave the Rebels their first cross against the plate. Score now 2-1, Gators still lead. The Florida Gators continued to push the Rebels, but unfortunately for the Ole Miss Rebels, this series was just not in their favor as the University of Florida ran home 5 more on the board. Rebels bounced back and added 2 more as Calvin Harris scored on a wild pitch, and then Peyton Chatagnier crossed the plate on an Ethan Leger ground ball. Pitching for the Rebels started with left-handed pitcher Xavier Rivas. He threw for 3 innings, then right-handed pitcher Mitch Morell in for 2, then came in freshman right-handed pitcher Mason Nichols, and to finish out the day, freshman right-handed pitcher Braden Jones closed it out for the Rebels. The Ole Miss Rebels are now 0-6 in SEC play. They look forward to their next game, March 28th against Southern Miss in a midweek non-conference game. In Swayze Stadium, I'm Kieran Lenchetsky, NewsWatch Ole Miss.
The team will have a chance to get things back on track tomorrow night when they host Southern Miss in a matchup of last year's Super Regional matchup. First pitch is at 7 p.m. Be there. And the women's basketball team suffered a tough loss to Louisville in the Sweet 16 game. Coach Yo reflected on the team's incredible season after the game.
This team felt different, and throughout the whole season, fought, got better, learned, trusted, bought in, and believed in everything that we were asking.
The female basketball team will return some key players next season, and we look forward to seeing them carry the momentum from this year all the way forward. And that's all I've got for sports. Be sure to tune in to Rebel Watch on Friday at 5 for coverage on Ole Miss sports and beyond. NewsWatch Ole Miss will be right back.
That's all we've got for tonight. From NewsWatch Ole Miss, I'm Junia Newsome.
And I'm Makayla Russell.
With Sports Watch, I'm Jay Tarofsky.
And with Storm Watch, I'm Seth Parenteau.
Be sure to keep up with us on social media, and we will see you again tomorrow at 5.
Thank you for joining us. Have a great night.